And we are live. Welcome back to the Not Important Gaming Podcast with Jeremy, Reed, and Derek. I am Jeremy.
I'm Derek.
Hey, I'm Reed. What's up?
And we're going to get right into it here with some rapid-fire news. Reed, go ahead and hit us with it.
All right. So before we get to the big stories, I got a couple quick stories that we're not going to be able to really fully in-depth cover. So I'm going to start reading off. Looks like Ubisoft and Valve were fined in France for their lack of disclosure for there being like a 14-day return policy in France. This isn't the first time that we've seen them be fined. Valve was fined before, and then they appealed it, and they got an even bigger fine. And it's kind of the tune of like $280,000 for Ubisoft and like $180,000 from Valve. Which after the EA fines, investigations, whatnot from the other week, thought this might be interesting.
Yeah, definitely really interesting. I wonder. My big question is like how exactly were they being not upfront about their return policies?
I guess like in their return policy, it just wasn't included in like their terms of service that France kind of had different rules or something. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Moral of the story, I guess, just don't break the law.
Yeah, there you
Exactly.
go. Or just inform your customers. I'm sure it's probably just an oversight or whatnot, but it's kind of weird that there's more than one company that had this failure. So I also don't know if there are policies in France that are different, but we might have to look into that later.
Oh, for sure.
In other news, this is going to hurt a lot of different people. I know everyone's going to be really, really sad, but it looks like we're coming to the end of the PS Vita. The Sony has announced that they will stop the manufacture and support of, or stop the manufacture of the Vita. And Jeremy, I know you're really broken up, and I'm here for you, man. It really affects me too.
It was really depressing. I remember getting it and being really excited for it. And then I got exactly 2 games for it. I got Persona 4 Golden, and I got the re-release of Final Fantasy X and X-2. So,
yeah, that seems to be about my experience with it as well. It's like 2 games and then I was done with it. I don't even know what happened to it. That was like 10 years ago.
Unfortunately, very dead console. Dead like my hopes and dreams.
Hey, console isn't dead. The Nintendo Switch. That is a very popular console. So popular, fact, that their new NES service, basically where you can play old NES selection of NES games, you can pay a subscription fee. Well, looks like a hacker basically found a way to already break into it and play just regular ROMs that for the NES. Apparently, the all that's going on behind the scenes is really just your run-of-the-mill emulator. So he was able to hack into it. He even said that it's quite an easy hack that just your average user would be able to perform whatever the necessary functions are and play their own ROMs. So kind of ties back into our discussion the other week.
Yeah, a couple days ago, talking about ROMs. That was actually my big question. I'm wondering if the reason they were cracking down on ROMs so hard was because they were getting ready for their emulator. Just an interesting thought, I thought.
Yeah.
All right. The game that we talked about last week, Spider-Man, fantastic game. Finally was able to get a good look at it this week. Holy shit, that game is good. Well, apparently everybody else agrees with me because it is crushed, and I mean crushed. Well, maybe not. I mean just all the records for let's see, opening week exclusive games. So, which is quite a lot considering Sony. I mean, they've got so many different exclusives. So it's pretty impressive. Definitely a huge contender for Game of the Year. What do you think?
It absolutely has the potential. And I remember people were like, "There's no way it's going to be God of War's first week sales," and by God, they managed to do it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about God of War. That was a huge game in its own right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what people were comparing it to when they started making those kind of breaking sales, what God of War did back in April.
Quick aside, Anvil Parachute says, "Sup, Reed?"
Oh, hey, what's up? That's funny. That's my roommate. I can hear him laughing in the other room. Okay, continuing on. In other news, looks like Halo Infinite. We got a little bit more news about that, and it goes back to our favorite thing, which is loot boxes. Looks like their marketing department kind of released on their Twitter that there will be loot boxes. But in replying to a disgruntled fan, he did say that the loot boxes will not be bought with real-world cash. So, kind of a foot in, foot out of the evil that we've kind of always been talking about. But I mean, I personally am a big Halo fan. I really hope they can do the game justice. Last 200 years were kind of meh. So I really hope they don't fuck this up.
Yeah, not gonna lie, that's better than what I had initially heard. But still, loot boxes, and I mean, there was actually a study just recently done, I believe it was by Australia, that more or less proved that there is correlation between loot boxes and the gambler's rush and addiction. So, yeah, definitely kind of in that morally gray area at best.
I mean, I can understand if it's one thing, if it's like cosmetics or whatnot. I mean, I don't know. I just really have to see how the game is going to be executed, because I think that at its core is more important than the loot box system. I mean, loot boxes can be fun if they give you a goal to work towards, but I mean, I don't know. It's still lacking in a lot of details. But at least they're not
just like a
loot
game
boxes.
in-game. Yeah, exactly. It's in-game currency, so I'm definitely more cool with that than I would be for them just trying to like cash grab.
Absolutely. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's still a little skeezy, I guess.
It's not a great sign. You know, I would have liked to see gameplay, but you know, I'll take what I can get. It's not bad. It's not really bad. It's not the worst. All right. Next up, goes back all the way to our very first episode, RuneScape. RuneScape seems to be having more trouble. Apparently, there's a huge theft that's being investigated right now. One of their employees apparently was taking golden items from non-playing accounts that weren't in use, and they were sort of recycling them back into the game system. And these are all, I mean, to the sum total of hundreds of, I think, billions of gold. Basically, what is the market equivalent of hundreds of thousands of dollars in real world trading sites. So it is under investigation. The employee in question has been let go, so we'll have to see how it develops.
Yeah, that's actually a really shitty thing to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the newest form of gold farming, boys.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's next level. Get hired by the game and then give yourself money. Easy, Katoshka. Goes back to what we said earlier. Just don't break the law. All right. And then new details were released about the Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. They finally talked about the integration between that and Pokemon Go, which is a hugely successful mobile game, not just in the past, but also has hit a huge resurgence this summer.
Yeah, that was really weird. I noticed that.
Apparently, there's a huge group of diehard fans that still play it, and research too. And they have been slowly improving it. Kind of like a PUBG sort of thing. Came out, was crap, but then they improved it, and now it's kind of an actual game. But anyway, so the details. Apparently, that in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu Let's Go Eevee, which is their new Pokemon Switch game that everyone's excited about, you'll be able to go to a special place in the game called the Go Park. And from there, you'll be able to sort of connect and maybe pull in some of the Pokemon that you got from your Pokemon Go account. You will also be able to import legendaries, the legendary birds, and I believe Mew and Mewtwo. But you can only acquire those after you beat them in the actual game, so you won't be able to acquire them right away. It might be broken, it might not be. They're still lacking a lot of details. I mean, it would be kind of broken if you just went, maybe if this place wasn't available till much later in the game. But if it's available right away and you could pull down a level 70 fucking Groudon or Groudon or something like that, that'd be broken as shit. So we'll have to kind of wait and see. And then last but not least, this is something I'm kind of excited about. There's rumblings about a Diablo adaptation, like a Diablo TV series, on Netflix. Let me pull up.
That's certainly really interesting, but I'm hoping they made a lot of people mad with their decisions in their most recent attempt at a video game. Well, it's technically a book adaptation, but they've kind of ruffled some feathers with their choice in casting in The Witcher. So they're kind of on thin ice with gamers right now, I think.
Yeah. So the Boom Studios founder, Andrew Cosby, tweeted out that he's in final talks to get the show up and running. He's the guy who's currently tied to the reboot of Hellboy, or he's the writer for it. So apparently he's, he's well received by a lot of different people. And the thing that does give me hope, he said if the adaptation does come out, it would be like an R. So, or that it would be like, mature or whatnot. So gives me hope. Obviously, I think Diablo is a well-loved series, played by a lot of different people. So I would like to see that, and I'd like to see, I just want to see more video game adaptations that don't fucking suck.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, we can bring movie and comic to video games, a la Spider-Man, and make it awesome. I just want it to go the other way, and not blow chunks. Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, no, same thing with the Doom movie that's coming up. I'm interested to see what happens with that.
Wait, they've got a Doom movie?
I'd heard about it. I'd heard rumors. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Let me double check real quick.
You better not fucking get me excited for nothing. I don't know. What do you think, Derek?
No, I just feel like, ultimately, if they're going to decide to try to make video game adaptations into like Netflix or just into television in general, they're going to need to do better with the casting and, not end up being heavily criticized by stuff like this, what they're trying to do with Witcher. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Here we go. Got some. They are, as a matter of fact, making a Doom movie. It's supposed to come out in 2019, May 17, 2019, actually.
Holy shit, that's not that far away. Like, they should pretty much already be done with filming.
Directed and written by Tony Giglio. Let's see here. The highest rating actors are Louis Mandylor, Amy Manson, and Nina Bergman are the top three, showing up on IMDb.
Holy shit. They've got a Mandalorian working on the production? Star Wars reference.
Oh, man.
I mean, those none of them are names that I've heard of.
Yeah, no, same thing.
God, especially after how Doom finally came up and became a good franchise again. Not that it wasn't too bad. I mean, just that they've done such a good job of building this game series. It would really suck to see them kind of blow chunks on a show or whatnot. So.
All right, we got any more?
Cool. No, that's I'll double check the list, but it looks like that is everything in the rapid fire news that I was able to pull down real quick. So
excellent.
Cool.
So we got 3 big topics tonight, as you can see on your screen. We have the Telltale game shutdown that's happening. We've got more info about Red Dead Redemption 2, and last but certainly not least, 45-year-old man. Fortnite streamer, he threatened to kill an 11-year-old child, I believe on camera, actually, live on a stream, although I could be wrong about that. I know he sent messages and stuff to him as well. So that's kind of our 3 big topics tonight. What do you guys want to get started with?
Anything's fine with me. You want to go in order? Just
Sure. Derek, why don't you take us off with the Telltale games?
All right. Well, so this story, I want to say this broke on Friday. Was it Friday when we saw the news of this happen?
Yeah.
I want to say it was. It was like Friday night, yeah. So apparently Telltale Games had laid off approximately 250 employees with no severance pay over the weekend as part of what the company is calling, I guess, a majority studio closure. The company had made a statement saying, today Telltale Games made the difficult decision to begin a majority studio closure following a year made by insurmountable challenges. What that means, it's a very vague statement. I believe, though, that it's mainly financial difficulties that they were having that led to this decision. Not, although I do know that there were a few lawsuits that some executive members had in the past, like, year or two, that just kind of like, crept in, one thing after another that kind of led to the slow downfall of them, as a company. But this year they've already been,
man.
yeah, they've more or less said that this year they're not really doing all that hot. And so I guess this is kind of where it all led. But the company's going to end up keeping a small team of, I think, about 25 people on to, as they put it, fulfill the company's obligations to its board and partners. The staff were informed of the layoffs on Friday and were given roughly 30 minutes to leave the building. So it was just kind of like a, hey, you're out of a job.
Yeah, pack
now.
your shit, get out.
How many people are we talking about?
250 people.
Which is
How big is the
actually more
studio?
than they had initially reported.
Yeah, how big is the studio to begin with?
275 people.
Well, it would have been 275, seeing as how they laid off 250 and they kept 25 people on.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So
I imagine none of the huge executives got fucking released.
Yeah, no,
I would
probably
imagine not. Yeah. Nope. From my understanding, they're keeping those 25 people on for their obligations, what they said. And when I did a little bit of research, what I found was their obligations was, surprisingly, it is not Walking Dead the final season. It's actually Minecraft story mode.
Really?
Which,
Wow.
Yeah. Interesting decision, but hey, that's their choice, I guess.
Dude, what a shitty work environment that has to be, right? It's like
That
you
was-
just saw like fucking almost all your friends fucking get fired, and here you are just working at a place knowing that as soon as you're done with your job, you're gonna be let fucking go as well.
Oh, absolutely.
absolutely.
And it was a shitty work environment even before that. There was actually a lot of very upset employees who took to Twitter and various other social media platforms after they were let go. And no, granted, it's very likely that them being let go kind of tinted their opinion of the company, but a lot of them had complaints about things like poor management that led to kind of office politics, a lot of arguing, like sabotaging each other, and just in general, I mean, they were overworked because they were a small team. 250 is not that big when you're taking on as many projects as they were taking on. It was like up to, what was it, 4 games at one time?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for what their studio was, I mean, they're not like a AAA studio, but like they're definitely sort of like an A studio. Like they had a lot of different projects, like you said. So it's kind of like it's a big small company, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was the big issue. Was they're a massive company, at least in terms of like IPs they're pulling and the level of stuff they're doing. But they wanted to keep the mentality of this small indie company that you just can't get away with that when you're pulling IPs that big.
Yeah, they definitely tried. I mean, there's definitely a silver lining into this, but like, I mean, I think it's good to kind of back up a bit and understand that like this isn't even the first time that Telltale's been subject to layoffs, though. Because like last November, the company laid off around 90 employees, which was like roughly a quarter of their employees at the time. So it's just like they have a history with really bad management, like just poor management in general, which has led to so many different like complaints against the company and lawsuits, and it's just they've taken a number of losses financially, even from the games that they've sold. I think what their CEO Pete Hawley said on the matter, he said it's been an incredibly difficult year for Telltale as we work to set the company on a new course. And he went on to say, unfortunately, we ran out of time trying to get there. We released some of our best content this year and received a tremendous amount of positive feedback, but ultimately that did not translate to sales. So, I guess that's ultimately what brought them down this year. But yeah, it's kind of like a long thing just, in the making. It just seems like, controversy after controversy after controversy and then bankruptcy. So, or relatively bankruptcy, I guess. Yeah.
I'm like reading more here, and it's just like the working conditions that they were putting people. I mean, this might sound a little bit controversial, but I think this is really good. This is good for, I mean, not necessarily for Telltale, but for the people that worked there, which is really the important part. And maybe for people who are fans of Telltale, Telltale, because the working conditions, like, they were basically being kept under constant like crunch, which for in layman's terms means basically they were working ridiculous hours. They were kind of kept with job insecurity, sort of like kept over their head, constantly dealing with like workers dealing with like burnout and stuff like that. And it sounded like just like basically a miserable place to work. And so what I'm hoping for is that a lot of these people will find new homes, or that maybe they can even work together to like make a new company that maybe doesn't have quite as lofty as goals and isn't quite as like greedy or ambitious, but can be a really good work environment.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned them finding new homes, because there actually was, I believe it was Ubisoft actually organized with several other large name developers. They're actually putting together a group, basically a giant meeting, to try and pick up and interview as many of those former employees as they can. Basically, like an on-the-spot interview. I believe, don't hold me to this because I don't remember where I saw this, but I believe I'd even heard Ubisoft had gone as far as to say, basically anybody who doesn't get picked up by any other company, we will take on.
I haven't heard anything about it. I just know that it's going to be at a local restaurant in the San Fernando. I hope maybe that's not even the right place, but it's going to be a local restaurant in the area. Yeah, I want to say tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow afternoon, where they're going to basically do a meet and greet. Like all the food and drinks are paid for by Ubisoft. Yeah, Ubisoft is definitely going out of their way to try to help some of these people land back on their feet. But yeah, some of the other studios that have already tweeted about this and basically said, like, listen, guys, like, this sucks that it happened, but like, check our vacancies, check our positions. Like, we will at least have the discussion about taking you guys in. Santa Monica Studios has been involved in that, SIE Bin, Ninja Theory, Gearbox, Respawn. Like, everybody's kind of lending their hand to this whole issue because they understand how shitty it is.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of talented Telltale.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially the original people. So I don't know.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think here we're going to see a lot of companies get some really talented writers coming in. And I'm really excited, especially Ubisoft. I think that that's one of the things that, don't get me wrong, Ubisoft game stories are good, but I really think that if they get the right Telltale guys, we're going to see a huge upturn in Ubisoft storytelling here pretty soon.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just excited for it, for the fact that, like, you have all of these great writers who were all just kind of predominantly focused in this one company, you know what I mean? And now it's just kind of like a mass exodus to multiple different companies. You're going to see so many good writers like in these different studios now, and it's just I think this is going to help the industry in general. It's like there's always a silver lining to this kind of stuff, but so it's like now, instead of having like great storytelling just focused in Telltale, we're going to start seeing this spread across many studios, as a result of this. So yeah, it's definitely a good move on their part to try to pick these guys up. I guess we're just kind of waiting to see what happens.
What sort of lessons do you think this gives to like other companies as far as like how they manage or run their companies? Do you think that this is a problem with just management that just wasn't ready to take on its success? Because it's like, from what I understand, it's like really ballooned. Or do you think that was just more of like...
I feel it definitely starts there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like pay attention to the people that you're hiring on to manage your team.
Yeah. Or be more involved. You know what I mean? Instead of like becoming so distanced that you're not aware of the shit that's going on down at the floor level. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just learning not to bite off more than you can chew. That was, at least in my opinion, the biggest issue with Telltale is being a fan of them from Walking Dead Season 1. I was there and I watched as these games slowly decreased in quality as they were taking on more and more games. Until I think it was around when Game of Thrones released, I was finally like, you know what? No, I'm done playing these. These are they clearly don't have the time or the talent to be writing this many games at once. and the quality of the game is suffering. So I think that's the big takeaway for other companies is don't bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah. Also, treat your employees well. Always.
Also, treat your employees well. Yes.
I mean, there was even gosh, what was it? I think The Verge wrote a huge article about was it The Verge? Or was it Polygon?
Yeah, The Verge was what covered this story. They were the ones that kind of, I guess, covered the bulk of this Telltale layoff for sure.
There was a big. I remember there was a huge article. Yeah, it was The Verge. They had a huge article back earlier this year. I remember seeing a report. Oh yeah, here it is. Talked about toxic management costs an award-winning game studio its best developers. So, and I remember there's like reports of like underpayment and stuff. But I mean, I guess this has been going on for a while, and it's like, if you breed like a culture that basically just morale shattering, just absolutely the most miserable, you know what I mean? It just absolutely what you're gonna get out of your employees is gonna be way lower. So it's like way better to invest in your employees and make them happy and focus on finding good talent and making that talent happy, because at the end of the day, it's like they will give you your money's worth. Whereas if you try to cut corners and underpay them and overwork them, they're going to put out shitty work, and it's going to show in your product. Especially, I mean, it's one thing if you put out like a shitty product and it's like a manufactured good, because a lot of times people just consume it, and it's like a lot of those things aren't necessarily noticed. But in a video game, it's like you live or die on the quality of your game. If a game is so bad that people don't talk about it, they don't recommend it, they don't want to play it, you're just gonna dissolve away. I mean, huge franchises suffered that. I mean, look at Fable. Fucking any huge franchise that has ever died, it's because it's like the quality of the game wasn't there in later versions, and it didn't sell well, and the game dies. So, especially in this industry, you can't scrimp on taking care of your employees and focusing on the quality of your games. I don't know. That's my piece.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't be Konami.
Don't be Konami.
Konami's a perfect example.
Please, for the love of God, don't be Konami.
Jesus. Like, what? I mean, like, I hate EA, but Konami's right up there with just being like shit tier.
Oh, I'd argue Konami's worse. Maybe it's because I was burned harder than you guys. But I would argue that Konami's worse.
Well, I just think it tells the story of like the corruption in that industry in Japan specifically. Like corporate Japan and the level of corruption that comes with it. I mean, you're going to find corruption across the board no matter where you go, but like there really is a culture of like just shut up and do your work. Like the only other country that's as overworked as the United States is Japan. But like some of the more specifics are definitely like, yeah, looking into Konami, it's like it's bad. I mean, there's some parallels you're gonna be able to draw between Konami and EA. Like, holy shit, yeah. Konami
in several cases, we don't want to use generalities. Obviously, like places like Nintendo still do pretty good work. But
so that's a hot take about Japan.
I was gonna. I mean, Japan does have a really. I mean, like some people look at it as a good thing. It's like they have a huge working culture, but
so
it's
they
like,
get
it's
shit done for sure. But I mean,
there's so much burnout though.
Yeah, things like games don't thrive well in an environment like that.
The burnout is real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh. Yeah. No. Gosh, fuck Konami. Sorry, I got. Yeah.
They got my hate boner now.
Really though? Oh my gosh! I mean, just like, what they did to fucking like every. I don't know. I can't. Yeah. All right. Yeah. No. Telltale. It sounds like they were. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and just say that they grew too big too fast, and that the people in charge were just. They weren't the type of people to run a multi-million-dollar company, and that they just made bad business decisions, and they got so out of touch with, the entry, like the floor, the production level of stuff, that they just were deaf to their needs, and they tried to focus on the business part, and then it fell apart. But, and that unfortunately led to the death of the company. I mean, I don't think there's any way they come back from this. Do you?
I
If
can't
they
really
do,
see
it's going to have to
anything.
be a slow build up.
Oh, absolutely. I think if they're coming back, what they're going to do is they're going to it's going to be a slow build up. They're going to go, hey, big return.
You
Initially
gotta
it's going
change.
yeah.
Go ahead. I was just saying, you gotta change your name at that point, right? Like, I don't know.
I don't know actually, because this is the thing.
With all the
there are
Telltale.
so many Telltale games. I love it. Telltale Games has some big names behind it, some beloved franchises, The Wolf Among Us, The Walking Dead. I honestly do think that they could come back under the name Telltale, and I think what'll happen is they're going to, if they're going to come back, it's going to be like 5 years from now. They're going to be like, hey, remember us? Remember all those great games? Don't look over in this corner where all the bad games are. Remember Walking Dead Season 1? Remember when you cried? Yeah!
Jeremy, when you said that, when you were like, I had the image of them just kind of like as a company, just crawling with like both of their legs blown off and like half dead. Like, remember us?
oh god, like you're the zombie.
Like they're barely holding on. Just kill it, please.
Oh my god. Remember me. Grandma remembers.
Oh my god.
Well, shout out to all those employees who are now looking for jobs. Yeah, okay, this is another thing that really pissed me off, is that they were all let go with no fucking warning and no pension. The pension thing I can kind of understand because pensions are expensive, but the no warning thing is pretty fucked, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's like no severance pay. It's like, what's up with that? Like, at the very least, do that much for your employees if you're just going to be like, hey, 30 minutes, get the fuck out of the building.
Yeah, no, I mean,
What?
I can't.
I had a career here.
If they really, really wanted this company to actually have some sort of revival, they should have laid them off a couple weeks ago, give them the paychecks to up to this point, you know what I mean? So it's like, hey, we're letting you go, we're not giving you a lot of warning, but we're giving you some money to leave on. And then that way, when everyone's laid off, they can have, instead of it being this whole tone of like, oh, they're fucking slave drivers, and then they fired them without warning, it's more of a tone of like, hey, they made some mistakes, but, they realized things weren't working out, and they owned up to their mistakes, and let their employees go on a good note, And then they have a chance. But now it's like, fuck them. If they ever make a game, I'm not fucking buying it. I'm gonna tell all of my friends not to buy it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's, like I said, I haven't bought a Telltale game since Game of Thrones. The Tales from the Borderlands, Game of Thrones. I bought both of those. It was actually really funny because I thought they were gonna be able to handle a Game of Thrones, and I thought they weren't going to get Borderlands. And it was
Borderlands was great.
Yeah, Borderlands was pretty decent, but it had a ton of technical issues. I remember. Yeah,
that has always been an ongoing thing. I don't get that. I don't know why they never fixed it. Probably one of the big reasons why they failed.
Well, from what I remember, and I heard about this a long time ago, that the engine they use, it was actually developed by the at the time owner and lead developer. And when they started getting bigger and making bigger games, those games necessitated a newer engine, but their owner was just too stubborn to let them use something other than the engine he developed.
Okay, I'm now starting to see a theme here.
Yes. Yeah. Now, like I said, I can't verify the validity of that. I don't even remember where I heard it from. It was a couple of years ago, so I could be completely off base in saying this, but at least that's what I had heard.
I'm gonna look up real quick. Here's an article from this summer that says, "Hey, they're finally replacing the old engine."
Oh my god!
I can't quite narrow down what you just said. Yeah, well, Telltale's is dead. Long live the game, I guess.
Whoever replaces them.
Yeah. Somebody's gotta step in. I mean, it just goes to show that those sort of like, I mean, it kind of has parallels to like the interactive novel or whatnot, the visual novel genre. It's like of Japan. It's like there's a demand, there's a market for that.
Oh my god, visual novels are a fucking enigma to me. I don't understand them at all. I don't get why people like them.
It's like a comic book that you don't have to read.
That costs you $60 and isn't fun.
Well, are comic books fun? No, obviously not.
That's why nobody buys them.
Exactly.
Oh, shit,
no one buys
sorry, Marvel.
Yeah, no. Who do you think is going to step in to fill the void?
I think we'll see another indie team. Honestly, I think another indie team is gonna shit. So
but not for the licensed stuff, right? Surely they have to do their own things.
No, not for the licensed stuff. But I think they're going to do the same thing. It's going to be very story heavy stuff. And I think a lot of people are going to like it. I think this is something that we're doomed to see forever.
Who would you like? Who would you like to see take up the mantle?
Konami.
Go away, Konami! Go away, Konami!
No, I mean because when I think about this, I think what are some really good franchises out there that I think would benefit from a game like this? Biggest one that comes to my mind would be Star Wars. In that case, it's like, well, who do you want to do it so it's done right? You know?
Oh, you're trying real hard to bait me into talking shit on EA right now. I want to go a whole episode without saying anything bad about EA. Just one.
I'm pretty sure I already screwed that earlier on.
Okay.
Early on in the podcast.
All right.
Next week.
Well, in that case, fuck EA. Disney, give it to someone else. Give us a real Battlefront.
Who do you wanna see do a Telltale's Battlefront, or like to do a
story heavy
a story anything? Like what game franchise and who do you want to be the developer?
That's a really good question. I hadn't committed a whole lot of thought to.
We'll say Insomniac did a really good job with Spider-Man. So
fantastic job.
Yeah. Dude. Okay. Actually, Insomniac would make a killer Spider-Man game. Not just for the fucking visual novel genre, but just like in general. That would be pretty sick.
I guess if I had to pick one, I'd probably say CD Projekt Red, but it would probably take a decade to come out.
Yeah. Well, maybe, but it's like a visual novel thing, so it shouldn't be as resource intensive, right?
It's CD Projekt Red. It'll take a decade to come out.
Okay, touche.
Yeah.
But it will be the best goddamn visual novel you've ever played.
With what IP though? The Witcher?
What would they do? The Witcher would be cool.
D&D? Because they're doing Cyberpunk.
They're doing Cyberpunk. Honestly, I'd like to see them do an original IP if they're going to do something like that.
Yeah. I would love to see Valve do something like that.
I'd like to see Valve do anything.
Hey, they've got Artifact coming
out, man. Artifact. Okay.
Dude, I'm so fucking hyped about the game. Alright, I'm not going to talk about Artifact. I promise. There's rumblings, man. I can feel the vibrations. Valve's on the rise again, man. I'm calling it now. I think Valve, they've got some really great talent. The people behind Portal 2, we talked about the other week. I think Pinkerton came back to Valve. They could do something like that. That'd be cool. And it's like low key, right? It's like, come on, Valve. You don't have to make a big game. Just make like a little, visual novel thing. That made me happy.
My hope is that they're gonna take quite a bit of motivation from the success of Artifact as a means for them to kind of get back into developing, and so maybe that's what we're gonna see. It's like kind of the aftermath of the success of Artifact is gonna kind of lead them back into wanting to make games. Jesus Christ, I miss the Left 4 Dead series so much.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Ooh, that's what I want, is a visual novel.
Oh, dude,
Left 4 Dead, the visual novel.
Yes! Oh, that'd be so sick.
Just bring back the Sacrifice comic and make it a visual novel.
We could have characters like Clom in
Midnight
Time
Riders.
and
no, it's all about the Midnight Riders. and then them getting drunk and having a road trip across the zombie wasteland.
Oh, small aside, did you hear that they're making a Zombieland sequel?
I'd heard.
I feel like I heard that a while back.
I heard a while ago they were gonna do like a TV series, and I remember like what it was like 2 episodes. It did it really bad, and they pulled it immediately.
Yeah, Zombieland 2. Yeah, it's on the books.
Interesting.
It's like legit on the books. So get hyped. Yeah, somebody's got to step up. There's a vacuum now. Telltale's is gone, guys, and they had all the IPs, man. And they're fucking dead. Dead as dead can be. Anybody can step up now and make a good game. Indie studios, fucking big studios to rope on those IPs, man. It's a fucking Wild West.
I just want to see somebody. I just want to see somebody make a good Walking Dead game. Nobody is able to do it.
Like a game, or
yeah,
like
a game, like a game.
Yeah.
Because they had it seems like anybody who tries to do it, it's either like a cheap cash cow, like that one about Daryl, or it's whatever the hell this new Overkill The Walking Dead is, which from everything I've heard, it's awful. It's not even worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just like the whole thing with zombies. I mean, like, well, first of all, zombies are like kind of on the down low right now. They had that huge spike a couple years ago, and then they kind of got saturated. Sure. But zombie games, especially with like Walking Dead, because they're slow walkers. Like there's fast walking zombies, like Left 4 Dead, and there's slow walkers, like fucking oh, what's the one with the mall? Why am I blanking on the name?
Oh, Dead Rising. Love Dead Rising.
Yeah.
Yeah, classic, fantastic. Also, did you hear that there is Dead Rising? I heard Dead Rising Studio was closing.
Oh, really? I mean, that makes sense. The last, pretty much since Dead Rising 3, then dying a slow death.
Yeah. So Capcom Vancouver, the people behind Dead Rising, they shut down. And that happened 5 days ago. So
that's very unfortunate, actually.
Yeah, you hear that, guys? All the big zombie players are done. You can get in here.
Oh man,
Make your own zombie games.
Definitely doesn't mean the zombie.
My vacuum in the background.
Dude, how pissed do you think all the people who left Capcom Vancouver are? It's like, oh hey, we're fired. Anybody want to hire us? And then they immediately get overshadowed by the Telltale guys.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine a lot of them kind of transferred over to some of Capcom's other headquarters.
They were like, hey, I just got done working with this zombie game. I wonder if Telltale will hire me.
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, actually, there were, to get back on topic a little bit, there actually were people as recently as the week of the firing that had been hired on. So there were guys who literally had showed up for that first week, and at the end of the week, it was like, okay, pack up your shit, you're gone.
It's like, hey, here's the break room, here's the snack area, and here's where you put your pink slip. Oh, man.
Yeah, if there's anything that I do know, though, about, like, the events leading up to a company deciding to, like, lay off, a bunch of employees, kind of like Philip DeFranco's company SourceFed, when he started that on YouTube, it was just, a humble little YouTube channel, and then it grew to, like, well over 1 million subscribers in, like, the 2 to 3 years, and they had, like, a full staff and, like, a full building that they operated out of. There was just a lot of money coming into it, and then they had a number of other people kind of come in on the business side of things and make a couple changes, and then all of a sudden it's like all the hosts are making like a video out of the blue about like, hey guys, we're shutting down, sorry.
Yep.
And it was just almost like all at once.
Yeah, but the good, like the happy ending to that though is that he was able to buy himself out and start up his own thing again, basically start from scratch, and he's really made a brand. I'm actually a big I wasn't a big fan of like SourceFed or Philip DeFranco at all before, but I got into him recently, and I mean shameless or not, like plug or anything, but I really, really like how he does news. He's one of my favorite sources of news, and a really interesting sort of like a data point, and the whole idea of like this new paradigm of new media and news and how it's changing. And a huge fan of what he's done. So maybe the new Telltale guys can maybe do something similar. It's like, learn that hard lesson and start from the bottom.
It just kind of broke my heart because, like, when the whole thing with SourceFed happened, like, all the personalities that like everybody had kind of grown to love, that what made SourceFed, those people, like, I'm still kind of keeping track of them now, from time to time, and they're kind of doing small stuff on their own, like nobody's really picked them up, so I don't know. I can't really think of one host that's really gone on. I probably Meg Turney was the only, but she left before the whole thing. And that was Rooster Teeth. Yeah, she went to Rooster Teeth.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But Trisha Hirschberger and a few of the others, they just kind of like, yeah. But it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, at least he was able to kind of buy stuff out of that.
No, and he's doing really well now. He's like active, and the cool thing is since he runs it now, it's like he. And that's why I think like something like this is a really great cautionary tale. Not just SourceFed, but Telltale is like about handing the keys to the kingdom to somebody that you think you can trust. You know what I mean? So it's like what used to be a small little indie thing for Telltale, and a lot of people had this really great indie culture, grew really big, really fast, and suddenly the people who participated in that, all the developers and whatnot, suddenly are no longer involved with those decisions anymore. And so, definitely.
Alrighty. You guys want to move on to Red Dead now?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, boy, do I ever. Holy shit.
What do you got for us?
Okay, so I'm gonna pull up all my information. Okay. So, for those that don't know, I mean, there's been like a slow trickle of small stuff coming out of Rockstar. But there's some big things that kind of came out recently. They finally announced, it's like the worst kept secret. Hey, did you guys know that there's going to be a Red Dead Online?
What?
Surprise,
Online?
surprise. Yeah, surprise, surprise. It's going to be a follow-up to this small little indie title. The online is going to be a follow-up to this small little indie title called Grand Theft Auto 5 Online, which, has made ridiculous amounts of money.
I never heard of it.
Yeah.
It literally prints money. No, seriously, they've made like they say it's a lot of people are calling it the most profitable game ever because it's made. I'm just gonna look up a quick number. 5 online. It has made. Oh, come on, give me a quick. Okay, never mind. No quick, easy information. But it's made in the order of billions of dollars, apparently. Or millions of dollars. Billions? Billions.
A ridiculous amount of money.
A ridiculous amount of money. So they would be absolutely stupid to not try to replicate some of that success with the Red Dead Online. Apparently it's going to take a lot of the different cues from their previous online Red Dead Redemption Online and be sort of like this open world that people can interact with, like Grand Theft Auto 5. They did say that they will stagger the updates between Red Dead Redemption Online and Grand Theft Auto Online, and that so that people can go from playing one to playing the other. Which, I mean, that sounds like enough gaming to basically take up your entire calendar just between those two games, and how big and how involved they are. But the huge thing that I'm really interested is that they finally let in a number of games journalists come in and actually play a version of the game, or at least play sections of it. And some of the information that's coming out of the playable sections of the single player just make me moist and wet. Have you guys been able to look at it at all?
Oh yeah, I went over the video. I want to say earlier. Yeah, it was like earlier today. It was just really interesting to me because Danny O'Dwyer, he's a video game journalist who most of his recognition came from being a host producer at GameSpot. He's one of the ones that you're talking about. He went over the weekend to play the Red Dead Redemption 2 demo at Rockstar Studio, and yeah, he had some new details about it that he shared over Twitter via an AMA. So.
Oh, really? Yeah, I didn't see that part. What were some of the questions that they asked?
Well, I didn't get some of the questions, but some of the key details, like from his gameplay that he went on to mention, included like being able to search through drawers, like knock on doors and beat them down, which you were able to do in the first one. But hide bodies, talk to every NPC, and go into, as he put it, quote, maybe every building. It seemed that way.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. I'm going to talk a little bit about just a small little game that was near and dear to my heart back when I was just a wee little lad. It might not seem related, but Fable, which I mentioned earlier in the podcast, was really, really near and dear to my heart, and is probably one of my favorite games of all time. Probably my favorite game of all time. And it really just opened up the door on, and it made a game more than just a go here, do this, beat the bad guy, save the day. It really made the game and the day-to-day activities something that people can interact with and enjoy and really feel a part of this character that they're playing. They're like all their decisions. What Peter Molyneux sold Fable as is basically all your decisions have impact, and you can play the game however you want. You can be good, you can be bad, you can be fat, you can be skinny, you can be prudent and holy, or you could be a sinner and a philanderer, and you could do all these different things, and they would all have interactions. Well, the reason why I'm mentioning that is because it seems like that's all I could really think of as I'm reading a lot of the details that are coming out of the new Red Dead, is that one is that like your character will be fat or skinny based on how much he eats. Your beard will grow out in real in-game time, and that'll affect your clothes and whatnot. Apparently the game, the world itself, will shape and change around you based on your decisions. Stores will open and close. You can talk to different people. One of the demo interactions that I was talking about is that somebody was going through the town. They're going into a gun shop, and somebody's there at the door, and they're talking to somebody, and he says, "Oh, and here's the guy now. He saved my life. He sucked the venom out of me when I got bit by a snake." Apparently, that somebody who had been playing this game on an earlier save had apparently done that. So it's like, you're going to be meeting people who you've interacted with, and anything that you do will have these long-lasting consequences. There's going to be major decision points in the game where it's like, oh, do I save this person? Do I kill them? Do I hold them for ransom? And those decisions have long-term consequences, and they affect your honor. And as Rockstar says, it's like, well, this honor system, their sort of morality system, won't necessarily be as obvious as how it's going to affect you. So yeah.
See,
what's your initial? Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of these things to me sound like, and let me preface this by saying I don't think this is going to be a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. But these are a lot of really lofty promises and a lot of things that we've heard in the past.
No, not promises. This is stuff that's already been observed.
But things what game was it? Or what was it exactly the promise? It was one of the Fables. You could plant an acorn, you could watch the tree grow over real time, and that wasn't in the game. A lot of these things, and yes, there are demonstrations.
You take that with a little bit of salt. That's some Peter not Molyneux shit.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is yes, there are examples of some things. I absolutely would believe that you could do things like save a guy from a snake bite, and then later on you run into him. He's like, "Hey, I know this guy. He saved me from a snake bite." That's the kind of thing I could absolutely believe. But I mean, they're making some very lofty, very vague promises, like the world being entirely shaped around you by your decisions. Now, I mean, the way games like Fable handled that, and really hate to be kicking your childhood hero here, but the way Fable handled that was just people were slightly less nice to you when you were evil, and the world had a different like color tint to it. Now, I'm not saying it's not going to be what it advertises. I'm just saying it'd be good to have a healthy dose of skepticism going into this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be like quite like universal in the application of all these different themes, but it's more like what this actually means for the game. It's just like the attention to detail. Like a lot of the stuff that we're hearing is just like shit that like you just would never, that like on concept it's like, oh yeah, it's, you know, fairly simple, but it's like an implementation just gets left out of games because it just adds a lot of, you know, it adds a lot of work for the developer. And also it's like if you have attention to realism, I guess this is my next major point, which is that this also kind of starts up a discussion, is that a lot of the stuff that you do in this game ties in, like it's very realistic now. It takes a lot of the game, quotational game elements out of it, and then it sacrifices those for realism. So it's like you can't just whistle for your horse and have it just magically appear. You have to like actually, you know, be within hearing range of your horse. Now that'll change based on your relationship with the horse, but like if you take a train to another town, you won't have your horse with you, and so you're going to be heavily limited. It makes a lot of sacrifices for like ease of play, for like realism. You can't there's no easy way to fast travel until like later on, when you unlock some stuff and you'll be able to like ride your horse. Your horse and your weapons will degrade over time, and those have to be cleaned. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that adds realism to the game, but also makes it harder to play. And so it has the potential to kind of alienate, you know, some of their huge audience that, you know, like GTA 5 is anything but realistic. What do you guys think?
I think that I am very excited to watch horse balls shrink in real time. It's so I guess I'm really nervous about things like what you said, not being able to, your horse won't be able to hear you if you're too far away and you whistle for it. I mean, there's a reason we have those. We have those things. Yes, it's not realistic, but at the same time, there's at a certain point you have to put fun ahead of a realism. And this is coming from the biggest immersion nerd there is.
But what if the fun is the realism? I mean, I think maybe it's a problem of marketing, is I guess what I'm getting at, is that like if they market themselves as like this, one, their marketing has been a little bit weird up to this point. They're not very like open about it. They're very like kind of quiet about the game. But if they're open about it and say like, maybe it's because they're afraid of this sort of reaction, but if they say like, hey, Red Dead is going to be a fucking balls to the walls narrative experience that's going to make you feel like you're Spider-Man. I mean, in the West. I mean, maybe if that's the angle that they go about it, instead of being like, hey, it's another Red Dead game, you know, then it's, you know, then at least it's upfront about it and people aren't going to be disappointed. But I have some concern about that. I think people are going to be upset. Me personally, I think it's fucking great. I think I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of, you know, frustration to get into a game and have it really just like come alive in my hands. And from what we've seen from some sneak peeks at some of the story or whatnot, it fucking stays with it, man. It doesn't pull any punches, and it fucking just gets in there, and it fucking has this great fucking storytelling.
Yeah, I think I tend to share the same opinion. I mean, I do lean on the side of realism over, you know, just I guess practicality. But you know, when it comes down to it, it's like most of the details that I've seen come out this week about the game weren't even the kind of like details on realism that would add like a layer of I don't know, like frustration with the game, like, you know, the thing about the horse you mentioned, but like they were just kind of like cool implementations that added to the realism. You know what I mean? Like being able to walk inside every building and like bust every door down, you know, stuff like that. There was also a detail that I remember seeing that what was it? It was if you're riding your horse too fast through town, people complain about you. You can lose your reputation, or your reputation can go down, you know, in those circles. So it's like, just kind of being obnoxious, in a certain, camp or community is just going to kind of, get them to hate you, stuff like that, how it just kind of translates into real life a little bit. Stuff like that I'm always going to cheer for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
my.
Certainly. So yeah, don't get me wrong. I still don't think this is not going to be a fun game. This is.
I disagree. I think it's going to be fucking awesome.
There's just too much really awesome stuff that's happening for little things like this. It's more just nitpicks for me, I guess.
You say it's not going to be a fun game?
It is going to be a fun game.
Yeah,
I misheard you. I was like, okay.
I will say though, I don't think it's going to do the online sales that GTA did. I think that if they're going to try, obviously they're bringing this online. I don't know necessarily the details to what they're trying to do, if they're going to try to link those two games somehow or whatever. But when it comes down to it, yeah, it's a wider access of an audience than the Red Dead Redemption games have, obviously.
I mean, I'm a huge Westworld fan, but I don't think that the Wild West is a commercially viable genre as, like modern fiction or crime fiction, or like, you know what I mean, like the GTA was, or a lot of other genres are. So, but I think it's still going to be a really, really good game. I think it's going to sell really, really well.
Oh,
and I think that the online will be moderately successful, which honestly, with how much money they made off of GTA, it's like, as long as it makes money, it's fine. So,
dude, no, don't get me wrong. Like, I believe that this is the kind of game that can be done so well that, and from everything I've seen, will be done so well that people who had absolutely no intention or inclination at all to get into this kind of a setting of the game are going to be getting into it, just for the sheer fact that the gameplay is going to be so great, but like, I cannot see it taking over GTA in the online area, so I think it has the potential to be a story in terms of like weight, gravity, whatever, but like this is online, I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of swing the other way. I think, honestly, I think they'd be. It could be somebody who really hopes they don't. I don't want them to try and monetize it the way that they monetized GTA 5, but I think they would be stupid if they didn't. GTA 5, like you said, it prints money. So if they were going to, if they were smart, which they are, bottom line, like they're making money hand over fist, they're going to monetize Red Dead Online the same way that they monetize GTA Online, through making things unattainable, functionally unattainable, conventional play, and making it so like if you want the really nice stuff, you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Now that being said, someone like me, I'm not really going to care about online. I didn't like online in GTA 5. There are plenty of people do. That's their thing. I just hope that this time around they do focus more on single player and like single player DLC. I mean, you got to think like Red Dead's Undead Nightmare, still like considered one of the best DLCs to ever come out. And I think it would be really remiss of them to ignore the potential that single player DLC is going to have.
Yeah, I can understand that. I don't know, because I don't know if Rockstar's in the DLC market anymore. Like, they didn't make any DLC for GTA 5. So...
Well, I mean, they did and they didn't in that sense. It was
they made
all online.
Yeah, I mean, they made stuff for the online, but they didn't make like actual like narrative, like single player DLC.
Yes, and that was really unfortunate. I really, really wish they would have. That was my biggest complaint about GTA 5. Love the story. I loved it. Honestly, I would even go as far as to say that it is up there. It's not better than San Andreas, but it's definitely up there with San Andreas in terms of quality.
Yeah.
So I was really disappointed when I realized that there was not going to be any single player DLC. And
yeah, go ahead. Well, please, after you.
I don't know where I'm going with it. Just go ahead and say what you're going to say.
I feel like one, if you really look at this as like a single player game, I think it's definitely going to succeed because Rockstar has a really great way of developing characters and putting them in a world and having them interact with other really interesting characters. Red Dead Redemption was just a fantastic game. Grand Theft Auto 4, Grand Theft Auto 5 were amazing single-player experiences. And as always, they've had, especially in like GTA 5, just this amazing attention to detail in the world that if you stop, you'll just constantly just see all this different stuff. And I think this is going to be like GTA 5 to GTA 4 is what Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to be to Red Dead Redemption 1. I think that it's going to be just such a fun game that you will basically want to go around and just explore the world and do a bunch of stuff and not just try to rush through the story. And the story itself, I think, is going to be great. I think this is probably going to be narratively one of the best games of the year.
That's what it seems like, for sure.
That's what it's building up to be. The online, I honestly could take it or leave it. Grand Theft Auto 5 online never really got my goat. Never really, got me going. So I could take it or leave it. But I'm really, really excited for just another great single player game. And Rockstar, honestly, it's like, as much as we can bitch about different elements or whatnot, they still have their quality, like their percentage of games, like good games versus bad games, is still like top. Like, what's the last bad game Rockstar has ever made? Table tennis?
You made a table tennis game?
Yeah, it was actually really good. It was one of the launch titles for 360. I think they did it more as like to test the engine of it or whatnot, but yeah.
Okay.
Rockstar, quality game company. I'm hyped. Just like here, let me just read you some of the I'm just looking at IGN's list of 79 amazing little details in Red Dead Redemption 2. You can buy newspapers that'll cover the events throughout the story, which I think is great. It's going to be kind of like the radio. You can hijack and drive trains by galloping. Okay, that's not like a small detail. There's dirt under his fingernails. Of course, I can't just pull like random stuff. All right, I'll go right back to here. Where to start? Horses poop dynamically.
That's this is the quality content I come here for. Horse poop.
By the way, the entire game can be played first-person mode. Unlike GTA 5, it's launching with that.
Which that's something I'm very excited about. I love GTA 5's first-person mode. As soon as that came out, I think I played the entire game like that.
Mm-hmm. Items in general stores can be purchased by walking around and literally picking them up off the shelves. There is a catalog you can use. By the way, if your horse dies, it's gone. There's no bringing it back, so you have to find a new horse and bond to it. Which bonding with the horse is a very big deal. Which is why you can tell the horse to flee when it's in a dangerous situation. Your choice of clothing has an impact on the game, so it'll affect you based on the temperature or whatnot. You'll need to shed layers when it's unbearably hot. If you kill an animal, if you're carrying it on your shoulders, the blood will be on your person, and it'll also be on your horse if you tie the carcass to the horse when you take it to the butcher.
It'll also be on your conscience.
It will be on your conscience. If you shoot an animal versus shooting it with shoot it with a gun versus shooting it with a bow, it'll be worth less. So if you shoot it with a bow, it'll be worth more because it's a clean kill.
Interesting.
You can start fights with people at your own camp, like the camp where you're characters the gang is based. You can start fights with people and even escalate them, which will be commented on later. The Wild West apparently wasn't known for its great dental hygiene, and it's also reflected in the game. All the NPCs have individual facial animations. Oh, and if you leave the bodies of the body of an animal where you killed it, they'll attract scavengers, and they'll even decompose over time. Possums play possum. If you get a bounty on your head, you can actually pay it off by going to post office. But townspeople will still remember any trouble you caused, and they'll comment on it and start shit if you return. If there's a thunderstorm, your horse will be agitated, as well as they'll stop dead in their tracks if they like see a predator or a snake or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it's just like the list goes on and on, man. It's like there's so much stuff. I mean, so much. This is just one article of some stuff that somebody noticed, and I'm really, really excited, man, for a living, breathing video game world. Like I say, it harkens back to one of my favorite games of all time, Fable. And if they could do anything that they did back in like Fable 1 or Fable 2, I'm going to be really, really happy.
Yeah, definitely has a lot of potential.
I am very, very excited. I want to see how this goes forward.
And yeah, when is the release date? It's next month, right?
Yeah, really next month.
Is it?
I believe it is.
Yeah.
October
26th.
So late next month, excuse me.
Wow.
Yep.
Almost a month from today. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Looking to be a good year, boys.
It's been a great year so far.
Hell yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, unless anybody else has anything to say.
Nope, I think that's gonna be it for me.
Time to talk about middle-aged men threatening.
Oh boy, no, I I have been talking about this non-stop. I'm pretty sure the people at work are sick of me talking about this. Because, well, I mean, you know what? I'm just gonna say what it is, and I think that pretty much says all I need to say about why I've been talking about this. A 45-year-old man threatens to kill an 11-year-old child over Fortnite. I mean,
Yeah.
you cannot make this stuff up. I am sad that I am not that talented to make this kind of thing up.
How did we devolve this far as a society?
So, I guess what happened, and should I release his name?
I left his name out of my details personally,
Okay.
just to.
Yeah, well,
There's no real need to.
yeah, we won't release his name then. But a 45-year-old man, I believe I heard that he was a streamer, although I'm not able to verify that right now. But he, while playing Fortnite, I believe I'm assuming he was killed by an 11-year-old boy. So he started sending this child messages over Xbox saying that he would shoot him, possibly at his school. I mean, man, I've been tilted over a game before. I've been real mad. I've said some things I didn't mean to say. I have never, at any point in time, been like, you know what? I'm going to shoot an 11-year-old child over this.
Yeah.
I
I'm
really
not
feel
seeing. I'm not seeing anything that says that he was a streamer. By the way, he has been arrested at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. Just jeez. I can't imagine being so tilted as just fuck this kid. I'm gonna shoot him in the face. Like that's just a whole nother level.
Yeah, like I mean, the kind of like popularity that it's gotten, and just the energy that you see out of it, just in general, it's like. I mean, what, a couple weeks ago, wasn't it? There was maybe it was last week, there was a story that broke that it's like Fortnite was being cited as a reason for like 200 divorces.
Shit, so this wasn't just in game. Like he was sending these
Yes.
text messages and online voice messages on Xbox.
Yeah.
That's-
Again, it is one thing. I mean, it's still inexcusable to say it over game, but this guy, even after the game, was still like so unbelievably tilted, so unbelievably salty that he was sending messages to this child. Like said, dude, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna shoot you. Like, that is ridiculous.
And you know what's crazy too is that this was not just some like dungeon dwelling fucking 45-year-old virgin or some shit. Like this was a guy who had 3 kids and owned a landscaping business. He was like, from the outside perspective, what anybody would consider like a normal, well-established adult. Like, you know what I mean? And he's the one sending text and like Xbox Live like recorded messages and shit threatening to kill a kid over Fortnite, over losing at Fortnite. It's like, what the hell?
Dude, some of the stuff I'm seeing that he said, it's like I will come to your house tonight and fuck your world up, or I'm gonna find you with a gun, or you need to look over your back when you're walking. It's like, for a kid,
Well,
man.
A child.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Well, and to be clear though, they did say that the authorities did say that they're not clear as to whether or not the guy actually knew the child's identity or where he went to school. So these threats were, but you know, nonetheless, security was actually stepped up the next day at the boy's school as a precaution, which, you know, good job on the school
Understandably
good job on the school for being that reactive. I mean, because that was literally the next day.
Regardless of whether or not you knew it was a kid, maybe don't threaten people on the internet.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah.
Maybe
what does it
that's
say?
not cool.
Yeah, what does it say about our game culture where it's like we feel like it's okay to just send that sort of
I don't know that.
I think a little bit of trash talk is fine. Like,
I don't know that that's fair to say that this guy is indicative of all gamers at all. I mean, there's not enough people doing this for that I think it justifies saying.
I bet you it happens quite a bit. The only reason why it was caught this time is because the kid was 11. You know what I mean? I bet you most people would blow this sort of shit off. But because he's a kid, he might have told his parents, which is the only reason why this might have come out. I bet you this happens a ton.
Dude, if I got a message like on the PS4, like on the Xbox or whatever, like from a guy trying to threaten to kill me because he lost in a video game, I would think he were like 14 years old or like 13 years old. I would not assume him to be a 45-year-old man. You know what I mean? Like to me, that's just insane.
Yeah.
Like, how old do you have to be before you realize that shit is not only petty, but just like completely out of like your age?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still see that shit when I play video games now. It's like people are like, "Hey, kill yourself" or whatnot. Which I mean, not only is
You're also on the MOBA though. Like MOBAs are notorious for being toxic. Like toxic in terms of like, you know, it's very highly competitive. Like,
but you also see
I'm
odds
also
of
the
that,
opinion-
like Call of Duty and shit like that too.
I'm also of the opinion
yeah.
that this is still on a different league from like, hey, kill yourself. I say that casually, and I don't actually mean literally kill yourself. It's like
but I mean, it's like you
like
also know the
fuck
people
you.
you say it to. You don't say that to like randos.
That's true.
Like it's one thing if it's like, you know, like if it's like an internal group thing, but to do this to just like random people or random gamers or whatnot, I don't know. It's something that I think it's like, hey, we've kind of had our fun, but it's something that I would be okay to see leave gaming culture. I'm okay with, I don't know, like trash talking is like one thing, but when you, I think this is something that I think we need to see like leave gaming culture. The sort of like hyper aggression.
Yeah.
See,
sort of
I disagree. I think it comes with the territory. I think it comes with the territory of competitive gaming. And
but this sort of line when you tell people to like kill themselves or like,
yeah, there's definitely a line that needs to be drawn in the sand at some point for anything, you know.
and there's like a haha you suck or like yo get on my level towards like type of shit or like trash talk, like stuff
But
that you see
I
on
don't
like
think-
you know Madden or whatnot. But it's like, I mean, fuck, we had somebody go and like shoot up a Madden tournament because
no,
they
I
got-
agree. I mean, again, obviously, don't shoot up anybody. Don't actually threaten to kill anyone. But at the same time, I don't think you're going to get anywhere trying to tell people what they can and can't say. I think all that's going to do is it's going to garner people saying, well, fuck you, now I'm going to say it more.
I don't mean like they can't, like they're disallowed via the law from saying it. But I'm just saying it's like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm getting older or whatnot, but I'm just like, I'm tired of this shit. It's like, you know, when play games and it's like just how toxic and just fucking like, and no one's fucking benefiting from this. It doesn't make me feel better. It doesn't make you feel better. It's like, and yet it's so tied into like gaming culture, and it's like it's not necessary. You know what I mean? It's like some friendly jabs. You know, it's like, hey, you know, if it's like you're giving your buddy shit, like that sort of stuff is fine because you know it's all in jest. But it's like when people get so fucking upset about them losing a game, and they lose touch. You know what I mean? And they just feel like they're so, you know, it's like road rage. You know what I mean? It's like you're fucking angry or whatnot, and they just like fucking, hey, fucking, and you just go into it. You just say shit, whatever, and you don't have this filter or whatnot because you're just like, you don't know this person. There probably will be like no consequences for you saying anything. It's like same reason why we still hear a bunch of like racial epithets and like a bunch of different shit. I don't know. It's just not necessary anymore.
So any
not necessary,
Smash Bros. Regional tournament.
So this is my thing. It's not necessary, but I also don't think it's anybody's place to be telling anybody how to talk. And that's my biggest thing.
I'm not telling them like they can't do this. I mean, listen, I'm a big proponent of free speech. It's more of those like, it's not like a you have to. It's more of like, hey, you should. It's sort of like, hey, you can still be a dick legally if you choose to do that. But you're still being a dick, and you shouldn't be a dick. You can, like, I mean, Fred Phelps, they should have all the right in the world to go and just say the absolute worst shit at funerals. They have that right, and as long as that right exists, it should be there. All I'm saying is that we as a community need to be more aware of this, and we should, like, not allow it, not, like, basically we should all call it out and say that it's not okay. And I don't think that the community has that perception right now. They don't get the sense that it's as big of a deal as it really is.
Well, and I think it's also good to mention, kind of like you were saying before, I mean, it's like, you know, we're always going to hold up free speech. You know, I'm never going to not be in support of free speech. I don't want people being jailed by the shit that they say. But what I will say is there is an aspect of free speech that can and will land you in trouble with the law, and that is death threats. That is definitely at that line of death threats. When you are making a threat on somebody's life, you're not supposed to just chalk it up to words, because if that is followed up by action, then you're going to be wondering after the fact, in hindsight, why you did not act on it. You know, and in a case like this, that's why I said, like, you know, it's not clear whether the guy actually knew the child's identity or where he went to school. That's what the authorities say. Because a lot of the details that were coming out about this story, or people's reactions to it, was, from what I was noticing, a lot of people were trying to drive the narrative, oh, well, this kid's 11 years old, and this is the reason why, you know, you shouldn't be telling strangers, you know, where you live and what your name is, and yada, yada. And it's like, but he didn't, you know, but people wanted to infer that off of this story, that the fact that this guy simply made a threat that he was going to shoot him up, you know, or go to his house and shoot him, and, you know, go to his school and, you know, and whatnot, even though he didn't give any specific details that made him, you know, that made anybody else know that he knew where this kid lived, was because people wanted to just assume that the kid had told him all of these details, and that's why he knew where to go. But it's like, you know, death threats are definitely where it crosses the line. I mean, shit talking to any degree, you know, whatever. You know, I agree with Jeremy. It just kind of comes with the territory. We should be better than it. But, you know, ultimately, it's like, it's going to happen, and you're not going to be the word police and end up a good guy.
The whole, yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but the whole idea of just, like, writing it off is, like, it just comes with the territory. You know, it's like, that's just so, I think, dismissive, I think. You know, it's just, like, it feels like a cop-out, I think, to what should be the responsibility, I think, of the community, is that, like, you know, if we just always just say, like, comes to the territory, you know, it's like, you prevent yourself from growing, you stagnate.
But at the same time, you don't get anywhere you don't get anywhere just sitting there going, hey, no, don't say that, don't do that, you're not allowed to talk like that. You're not going to get anywhere. Nobody's going to respect your opinion. They're going to tell you to fuck off.
No, I
Which is
understand.
exactly what I do when people tell me I can't talk like however I'm talking.
Yeah.
No,
The
I
bottom
understand,
line
but
is-
that's why I think like this it just needs to be a point of conversation, or at least like something that like the idea that we just like, oh, we're gamers and we're assholes and we're gonna be assholes. It's like that. It doesn't have to be like that, and the fact that we resign ourselves to that. I mean, like even the fact that it's got, like you guys both say that just now. It's like that's still a part of gaming culture, and I'm saying we just need to like.
I
Yeah,
guess-
well, I mean,
I guess
I'm not
disagree.
saying. I think Jeremy and I aren't necessarily saying that. To be fair, I think we're not necessarily saying that like we're included in that. I think it's just because I think Jeremy and I are the kind of people who get on games and be assholes to everybody. So at least I can speak for myself. I don't share that kind of toxicity. I'm just saying that from my perspective as like a chill a chill gamer who doesn't get involved in that shit. I just think that there's really if you're not coming from the train of thought of like, well, it does kind of come with the territory to some extent, then you have to ask yourself, well, what is the solution then? What are you going to actually do about it? And the only two things you can do about it is either literally police language, which I would never advocate for, when we're trying to uphold free speech, or lead by example, is it be somebody like us who can just kind of show people that like even when they do try to come at you negatively, you can just kind of brush it off, and then maybe they'll learn to do that themselves. But it's like I'm never going to just be an advocate of like, let's fucking monitor forums and shit like that, and every fucking word is whitelisted. It's like, no.
That and
I don't feel like those
don't
are the
think
only
it's-
two options. But Jeremy was waiting to speak, so go ahead.
Say, I don't think it's fair to paint gamers in broad brushes like that either. Gamers come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and to say I don't think it's fair to say, oh, well, one gamer did bad things, so that did a bad thing, so that's how all gamers are.
But you can't deny that it's a part of the culture. I mean, like
it's
for a lot of the hardcore gaming culture, that's like,
It's a part. It's a part of the. It's a part of the
or its
stereotype.
prevalence, I should say. Maybe not necessarily a part of the culture, but it's like how prevalent it is.
It's a part of the stereotype. It's not a part of the culture. Gaming is the culture. Gaming is
But
part
it's
of the.
but it is prevalent.
It is prevalent. But I mean,
To the point that you just said, like early on, it's like, well, it comes with the territory.
and it does. I mean, that's true of literally any competitive anything. Dude,
Yeah,
people say fucked up shit playing football. Are we gonna start? I mean, actually, I'm not getting into this territory because I'm pretty sure it's already happening. Policing what football players say and trying to crack down on them being mean to each other. I mean, that's just.
I mean,
yeah,
I'm not saying correct
if you had a hot mic.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, if you had a hot mic on every like NFL or NBA player, holy shit, dude! Some of the things that you would hear on live television is insane. There's already like clippets of sound bites of like coaches just fucking going off, and it's like the guys on the bench around them hear it, but it's like they
but those
tune
are-
that out for us though. Like,
Those
but
are
I'm
professional. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but those are like a small group of professionals. It's like, I mean, if you go
Well,
down,
I
and
can-
you-
So it's okay.
Yeah.
So it's okay for them to do it because it's their job.
no, I'm not
Well,
saying
but-
it's okay.
Well, I think that's even a better argument to kind of like prove the opposite, kind of like say more or less what we're saying, because like those are professionals, right? Like those are people who are like quote unquote professional, and even they're not able to kind of break out of like the worst parts of the competitive habit, rather
Not
than the
all
people that we're
professionals
talking
act
about
like
who are
that.
like,
A lot of professionals are class act players.
Absolutely.
oh yeah, but
And more.
look at the
I-
people that we're talking about,
I-
like in
I think that-
video games. They're like 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds on Call of Duty. Like you cannot hold them to a standard beyond like that kind of shit. Like they're kids. Like
Oh,
kids are
but-
going to be immature.
No, I won't disagree with that. But I'm saying, like, first of all, none of us are professionals in players or video gamers or in any sense of the word. So I don't think any of us can really attest to how how aggressive or how non-aggressive a lot of that. I mean, we've seen like bits and clips, but I also know that there's still a lot of players that are like class acts.
Well,
and there is, and I will say there is a level of professionalism that comes with that when it becomes your job, and that these are people you're going to be interacting with. I mean, even people who are high competitors, like Von Miller, who plays for the Broncos, he bought a bunch of gifts for people who are in his division, and so a lot of people who are his biggest rivals, and he gave them all free wine basically from his vineyard. And there's a lot of great sportsmanship that goes in there, and I think to discount that and say that even professional culture is as vitriolic as pub gaming culture, I think is not an apples to apples comparison.
See,
I'm just saying that they're just as
disagree.
Let me finish. So what I want to get, I think, is a better comparison, and that might lend more to your argument, is more pickup games. Like when you play with people in real life, there's some friendly shit talking, and there's some, what I mean? Like if I go and I play a pickup basketball game, or I play a pickup soccer game with a bunch of randos or whatnot, there's that common courtesy because they still want to play. And first of all, I'm interacting with them in real life, so if they can't say too much shit unless they want to start a fight. A lot of those games, but they have that friendly banter or whatnot. But people don't go off on somebody like they go off in video games, and they definitely don't do it at the professional level.
Well, I mean, a lot of it does have to do with you're dealing with people over the internet, which, I mean, there's the whole study that shows that people are more likely to say stuff when they don't see a person's face.
Anonymity is a bitch. You can
one hell of a drug.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I guess my entire thing is I don't think it's fair to paint gamers in this. Like I said, I don't think it's fair to paint gamers in this broad brush. To say that all gamers are like this because this one douchebag threatened to kill a kid.
That's not what I'm saying.
But
that's not what I'm saying.
It's what's implied by what you're saying, and
I'm not implying that either. I can be more specific. You want me to, but what I'm saying is that the fact, and here's kind of what I want to get to more of what Derek brought up, which is how to find solutions about this.
Yes.
And what I wanted to kind of come back around to is I think that a lot of, I mean, the reason why a lot of this is a problem is that we as a people or whatnot have only adapted to this whole online play for only a couple decades. We haven't had enough time to really sort of socially acquiesce to how everything works, and I think that eventually a huge part of it is that kids grow up playing video games without being monitored by their parents, and they learn these horrible habits, and they do immature things, and they carry those habits up into adulthood or whatnot. And as far as the solution that I think is getting at is one, I don't think you can change the people who play games now. Now, I don't think that gaming culture or that as a whole, or get gamers as a whole, have this problem, but I think there's a lot of different individuals who grew up playing games online and developed these bad habits. And I think and I think it'd be impossible to change those, other than letting them know or making this a prominent point of discussion that what they're doing hurts the gaming community and hurts themselves as a result. But the big thing to do is that we need to be responsible parents, and when we would raise kids and we let our kids play online, we need this to be a thing that we teach them. It's when kids grow up in school, they learn math and science, and at good schools they learn how to cook and how to pay bills. Well, this needs to be something that kids learn when they grow up, not just how to share and share toys or whatnot. They need to learn even growing up in elementary school, when they play video games online with other people, that their actions, the shit that they say, you know what I mean, that there's somebody on the other end, and that this whole idea of anonymity is the anonymity isn't false, but the things that you say are no less. The words don't change just because you're anonymous. If you wouldn't say this to somebody else on the school playground, or to somebody that you were playing a pickup basketball game with, you shouldn't be saying it online in a video game. So I don't think So yeah, that's my take on it.
No, I mean, I don't disagree. I believe that, well, and on that point specifically, no, that's definitely a good idea to maybe kind of hone in a little closer and start maybe focusing on like, not just the like, you know, you know, don't say to somebody what you wouldn't want somebody, having said to you. And like, we kind of teach that at an early age, but I feel like there's not enough emphasis on like, teaching that in the digital space where kids are most prone to being able to be their kind of worst selves, because when you're when you're anonymous, or when you're hiding behind a screen name, and you don't have to take any accountability for what you're saying, because nobody's able to put a face to a name, so therefore it just kind of it's like free game, right? And like there's definitely a very real aspect to that. That's why the internet is raw, like it's raw and like unfiltered as it is. Is because within that digital space, the anonymity, of that aspect of what this is that we're dealing with, just does happen to bring out the worst. Now, I do believe that parenting is the ultimate solution, but that's not an easy solution. It's just I'm trying to think of like what
Heaven
we can
forbid
do
they
now.
spend time with their kids.
Well, absolutely, but I feel like you can translate that to almost every single facet of like raising children. It's like
I agree.
Yeah, it's
easy to say, hard to do.
Get fucked. Yeah, exactly. It's something like that, right? So it's but I just feel like what we can do right now is kind of like you said, just try to educate people on like understanding that their words do have impact no matter where they say it. And that just because they're behind a screen name and somebody doesn't know who they are or where they're from doesn't mean that their words don't have weight. I just feel that trying to actually police words is never going to be a good solution. I
will say on that topic though, it's like they've had a lot of that with Rainbow Six Siege. They've a lot of bans came out of that, and they gave zero fucks.
Yep,
and a lot of people reported positive impact though, positive impact from that.
There was positive impact, but there was also a lot of negative impact because they. For example, the biggest one that comes to mind that I saw this on the subreddit. Somebody was complaining they got banned because they said what their nationality was. That's how intense those bans got in their attempt to make sure that the people weren't using racial slurs. So a guy
was he able to appeal it?
I'd never heard the follow up on that, but it's just this degree of like not being able to say that you're Packy because it could also be construed as a racial slur.
I mean, that might just be like it like auto detected or whatnot. I mean, if he's able to, honestly, I think if he's still able to appeal that, and like get that ban revoked and maybe get a little compensation for the time that he lost, I think that's perfectly fine.
Did you remember like at AGDQ last year and like the year before when they had banned like umpteen million different emotes from like popular streamers because just deemed it insensitive, even though it was just like the most non-thing ever? It's like I guess I just don't understand how you can feel like a picture has that much weight, that it could offend you so much that
some of them were pretty offensive.
Some of them were, sure.
But,
and yeah, I can understand those ones, but like he's saying, there were plenty.
Oh yeah.
That were not. They're like.
Yeah, I'm definitely talking about like some of the obviously the more mellow ones from just popular streamers who like would not obviously have like super offensive emotes and shit, but it's like they were still deemed offensive by AGDQ because they were trying to be super PC and like just police the shit out of the platform, and all they ended up getting out of that was people completely shitting on them from it, and it's like viewership had just gone down.
Yeah, it's obviously a very fine line, and of course with all the stuff I'm saying is like I don't want to cut the balls off of online gaming. I don't want it to be sort of like some like We Happy Few, that video game where people pop a magic pill and everybody's equal and everybody's happy, because obviously it's like real life is kind of rooted into sort of like the dirt and the conflict that we all the shared human experience, and the suffering that we both have to deal with and we both inflict on ourselves and on others. But I just think that we just need to be a little bit more responsible. I think the shit that AGDQ was, I mean, that was just taking it way too far. And that's the problem with this. Is like, where do you know? It's like you have to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not at all like advocating people being shitty to one another. I just believe that the best way to handle it is to lead by example. That's it.
Yep, exactly.
I think the community should be able. I mean, and here's what I also think. I think the community should be able to kind of like police itself in a certain way. It's like if somebody's being an absolute total ass fuck, and it's ruining the games of everybody that he's in with, and they all report him, he should be taken out. You know what I mean? I mean, that's kind of my thought. Is like if and maybe that's something that might be better than the developer policing it itself. Is that if somebody is going in and they're fucking trolling and they're just being a shitty person, that like tying it more into the community or like the people who are playing with this person and making sure you have a large enough sample size so it's not just somebody who got unlucky and who just happened to be put into a game where he was way out of his league and he pissed everybody off because he wasn't up to their level, and he did that a couple times in a row. You know, then to make sure that you're really only getting these people that are just being toxic players.
Sure.
Well, no, I'm glad that you said that though. Yeah.
That already exists though. That's called the report function, and almost any game that's worth a shit has it. And
Right.
It works just fine.
Because I feel like I didn't say that. Yeah, because that's a good distinction to make. Like, as I didn't think about it from that point of view. I was just kind of more or less talking about like language filtering, like that aspect of all this. Like, obviously, if somebody's coming in and they're just trolling the shit out of the platform or you know the chat room or whatever, copy pasta like up to the fucking 9, like they're just like, you know, back to back and just obviously being a real shitter. Like, dude, obviously get rid of them, you know. But you know, whitelisting every fucking word in the English dictionary just because you find it offensive is, you know, like let's not make that a precedent, you know.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, I think obviously racial epithets should be triggered, you know, or that they should be to tie into something. I don't think people need to be dropping like N-bombs on people or whatnot. I don't know. It's but here's the thing, even with that, it's like under the right context, said by the right person, maybe it is okay. It's really, see, that's a problem with using that as a solution, and that's why it doesn't make a really great solution, is because it ties into stuff. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say, because it's like people say that had a positive impact, you know. But then it's like it does truly dick over one, you know, a small number of people. So is it worth dicking over the few number of people to make it better for the whole? It's like it's hard to say, and that's why it's not black and white in this issue. I don't know. Either way, don't fucking threaten 11-year-old boys.
Yep.
Or 11-year-old girls.
I'm glad we can all agree on that at least.
Wait till they're 12 or 13, then you can threaten them.
Oh man. Yeah. No. Fuck this guy. For threatening to kill an 11-year-old child. Like that's the part I can't. That's enough.
I know it's a bold stance, right? But fuck this guy.
Right.
All right. That was actually a really fun discussion. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have any hot takes?
Just, you know, fuck that guy.
Yeah, that's. All right. In that case, I think I'll call the show here then. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been the Not Important Gaming Podcast with Jeremy, Reed, and Derek. We're here every Sunday night at 11:30 Central Time, and Reed, that is.
That is 9:30 Pacific Time. I live there now.
Excellent. We also have a YouTube channel on Twitch. If you scroll down there at the bottom, you should see a picture of Doom Guy. Just click on him. That'll take you to our YouTube channel. I get videos of these uploaded as soon as they come down on Twitch. As a matter of fact, tonight we'll be uploading our video from 2 weeks ago. And Other than that, anybody got anything you want to plug?
Hey, if you do have any questions or whatnot, or anything that you want to see us talk about, feel free to write them down in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, hit that little bell notification. But no, seriously, if you have anything you want to hear us talk about, or if you have any feedback, please let us know. I think in the future we're going to try to maybe set up something so you guys can give us a ding ahead of time about what news stories you want to see us cover. So be on the lookout for that in the future, because we definitely want to hear from you guys.
Absolutely, send us a message. All right, and with that, I think this is the Not Important Gaming Podcast signing off.
Love you.
Sweet.